of the Juan podcast. Today we have a special treat for you. I have Steve from the Slow News Day show. What's up, Steve? What's up, man?
How's it going, man? How's it going? Thanks for having me on. It's good to be here.
Thank you for coming on. And like I was telling you, the topics that you talk about are things that I like to hear about, but I don't know a lot about. You know what I mean? So that's why I have a podcast. I bring people on to get different ideas and different interpretations of ideas from people who know a little bit more about the subject than myself. So before we get deeper into it and go down the rabbit hole of the shit that we're going to be talking about, where can people find your show? Plug any, let people know where they can find you for your podcast, social media, whatever you'd like.
Yeah. You can find pretty much everything online at Slow News Day Show in terms of social media. That's what all of that's going to be. I encourage people to check us out on either Rockfin or Odyssey. Because they, don't censor our content or roll back the view counts or unsubscribe people or give us channel strikes for exercising critical thinking, like YouTube does basically every time we go live over there. So that's going to be rockfin.com/slow news day and odyssey.com/c/slow news day. I think you have to have the creator thing in there. And then all of the audio stuff you can find through Alt Media United and Mark and his badass right there who put all that together. So yeah, I think that's about it for we got t-shirts through a wonderful company called Truth Revolution Clothing. They're at truthclothing.io. It's Nathan Stoppelman, who has a show called Lift the Veil, and his wife, and that's their merch company. They do great work. Last American Vagabond, Ryan Christian's good friend of mine, has his stuff up there too. So I should shout them out because they're wonderful people.
Right on, and that's how we met, right on the Alt Media United, the holiday special. A bunch of us hopped. There was a clusterfuck of people, but we had a good time, and we all linked up. And this is what it's all about, right? Linking up and networking with other shows who have the similar mindset that I do, right? My thing is a little bit out there sometimes, but I do have some more serious shows on. But can you tell the listeners a little bit about your show and what you talk about on there? And yeah, I just want, before we get into that, I just want to say on this podcast, we love Joe Biden, we love Fauci, and we love everybody else. I love Mark Zuckerberg, just in case they're listening, because hey, you never know, right?
I took 15 boosters just before I came on camera to make sure that I would look and feel my best for this interview. All hail Pfizer.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do like the soccer players do and hold my hand up to my heart to pledge allegiance to Pfizer.
The
Right?
fucking Optimus Prime variant, bro.
I'm really concerned about the Megatron variant.
Me too.
That one seems scary. It does.
Dude, people here in Florida are like, they're. Shout out to my vaccinated cousin who just calls the COVID-19 the common cold, but yet you got vaccinated, right, for the common cold. But what I think is happening, dude, which we all know this shit. It's not rocket science. The common cold is not even a thing anymore, so they just rebrand it because it's a new market, bro. It's a new market. You know how many tests they're selling right now, and how many people are getting tested back and forth, and the flu is no longer a thing anymore. Holy shit! You know, if we could do the same thing with the flu with this, we'd be golden.
Well, what they did is they combined. It's called a pick test now, and it's pneumonia, influenza, and coronavirus.
Nice.
Which is why most of the cases disappeared, because they lumped them all into the one thing. And then, as we know, hospitals were incentivized to report coronavirus numbers to the tune of financial compensation. So that's why they blended the count and then reported everything as if this is COVID. It's just one of the dozen plus redefinitions and modifications and I don't know, I guess combination mergers, perhaps. I think maybe that we could put it in those terms that the CDC and WHO have rolled out over the last couple of years. Real quickly, though, I started the show because there is a super wide lane in independent media that still exists to this day. And that giant wide open lane for any show host on the planet, anybody with a camera and a microphone and a point of view, that giant lane is for people who want the independent media to make the people who don't want to be household names. There's a government that we're all allowed to see. They're people who are in positions of perceived power, who are able to wield, whatever influence we let them. And then there's a government that works behind the scenes that Peter Dale Scott once upon a when coined the deep state. But I mean, it's a, entrenched, unelectable, unaccountable bureaucracy, a permanent state. And they tell the people that we think of as politicians to go dance, and they do. And so the show focuses a lot on highlighting the people who are actually manipulating the levers of power, following the money, giving people essentially their news early, 6 months early, 12 months early, sometimes 2-3 years early. And we have grown up, nuanced conversations with people that are smarter than us about complicated and sometimes controversial topics, and we don't scream ad hominem attacks at each other and could treat each other like human beings and hopefully learn some shit at the end of the day.
Whatever happened to that, right? Whatever happened to just having a regular conversation with people? And how I tell a lot of people who try to, everybody's always trying to debate, right? Everybody's always trying to prove and push their point. And when somebody brings up an idea to me that I don't agree with, I present my issues with it, right? But that I don't try and force it upon you, because I don't think that's ever, well, let me take that back. That has worked a lot of times throughout history, forcing people to either take a right look at Christianization of everything, right? They won. What's on our money? In God we trust. What God is that? I don't know, but some sort of God. Maybe it's Donald Trump, the true Messiah. Who the fuck knows? But but nowadays it's all about this. I did an episode back probably last year. It's called The War for Your Mind, right? And that's where I feel we're at, where it's this constant battle for our attention, our energy, and data now is a commodity, right? And I wanted to get your opinion on something, because you brought up when we were DMing back and forth cybersecurity. I think the next biggest thing is going to be something like that, where they're going to, ushering in this whole crypto era and all this bullshit that's going on, right? People get rich quick and all this stuff. I think the next biggest thing is they're going to do some crazy cyber warfare with China, Russia, or somebody. It's going to be like the next Cold War in a way, World War III or so. You know how it is. And I'm sure they've made movies on this before, and we can talk about AI. But what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that we're headed towards this thing where it's going to be an attack of cybersecurity, and it's going to threaten the nation?
If you listen to the people who meet in Davos and meet in like Scottish castles on an island with nobody else around but their personal security, and what used to be referred to as a legitimate conspiracy, people who meet in private behind closed doors to plot and plan together to determine the outcome of future events in a way that will benefit them. That normally would be defined as a conspiracy in this day and age. Pointing that out makes you the conspiracy theorist. But when these guys gather and talk about now is the time to deliver a great narrative, the story of our time, and things like that, and we need a great reset and a fourth industrial revolution, and we need digital ID and biometric scanning and this and that and the other, and they lay it all out while at the same time they're saying we are going to see a cyber pandemic of historic, never before seen proportion, and the Department of Homeland Security and Interpol and the respective intelligence agencies of not just the Five Eyes countries, but most of Western Europe are all saying there is an imminent cyber threat There is an imminent attack that is going to be coming. We know it's going to be coming. It's probably going to be the Russians. Maybe it's going to be the Iranians. Maybe it'll be Chinese Venezuelans. We're not 100% sure yet who. Maybe Hugo Chavez's ghost will be supplying the money for this, like he did just a couple of years ago. It's possible. We're not sure yet, but it's imminent. It's going to happen. Pucker up. And they're priming the pump. They've been doing it now for about 2 years. They've been doing the same thing, at least in the US, with the domestic terror, domestic violent extremists stuff. We're coming up on the year anniversary of January 6th. I was there for that. In the morning, I was hanging out with Jason.
Right? Where they stormed the Capitol.
Yeah. So I got to watch a false flag go down in real time last year. That was wild.
I don't think it's safe to say that, Steve.
I said it that day. I went on a show called The Unfit Statesman, and shout out to that dude, man. He's fucking hilarious. I'm sorry, can I
swear? Yeah, you're good, bro.
Like, okay. But I went on his show and I was like, yo, dude, that was a psyop, and here's why. It just laid out a bunch of reasons. But before that happened, there was legislation that had already been written that was going to, call out about 85% of the country as a domestic violent extremist. The plan is still up. The DHS still has it up on their website, and it's all of us, man. It's all of us. We are all. It doesn't. If you have the slightest mistrust in your government, if you are pro-environment, if you are anti-environment, it doesn't matter. If you're pro-life, you're pro-choice, you potentially are a domestic violent extremist. So while all of these things are happening, and we are getting told 100% you're going to have a massive cyber attack, it's going to shut down the grid, it's going to disrupt the supply lines, most people are still arguing about the cold or red team or blue team, because these aren't things that they're paying attention to. They're trapped in a particular ideological bubble and unwilling to accept new, different, or information that they're just not prepared to process, which is where we come in, constantly screaming about it, having people from, whatever political spectrum or ideology you can imagine onto the show, so that hopefully their audiences cross-pollinate and we get past this, bullshit team sports mentality, and start to work with one another as human beings.
Why do you think it's like that? It's like there's I think that there are people in this society who serve the sole purpose of just being some sort of NPC and just filling the void, if you will, and they're just there just to take up space and just to breathe your air and just whatever. Why do you think that some people, like, they need that? It's always been like I believe in fear. I mean, it's been proven where fear is passed down genetically, right? Where all these ideas are passed down genetically, like an Akashic records, if you will, if you want, whatever you want to call it. But I think the idea of having, one thing is having a society that is organized and everybody has their role, et cetera, et cetera. But since the beginning of time, there's always been a hierarchy, right? The hierarchy of having a king, the people under him, the people under them, and then the peasants. And I think that just stuck with people, and they need something. It drives me nuts how some people will just literally die for their political party, and they're worshiping these politicians. You know what I mean? It's fucking crazy, dude. It's a cult.
So I have a theory about that I'll touch on briefly, and then I want to try to explain why I believe you have the NPC character class. How do I want to put it? Actually, I honestly forgot what I was going to say because I jumped to the NPC thing. So let me talk about that first real quick, because have you ever done or had to take a Myers-Briggs personality test?
No, I've never. I don't even know what the fuck that is, bro.
So what it is the Myers-Briggs personality test breaks down individuals into 16 categories. And based on personality traits, based on a fairly exhaustive questionnaire. There's a couple other personality tests out here, but this is the one that I saw in meme form that I was like, oh, well, holy crap, that actually makes sense. And what it is it's a depiction of the personality types as government, business, CEO, middle management, and then there's a row of TVs, and there's people that are just watching, and then reinforcing the TVs, on the TVs, chattering class, those are personality types, cops, military, or other personality types. And then there you see a large tank in the bottom of the picture, and there are 4 personality types facing the tank, and they're out of the 16, the only 4 that appear to be in any way, shape, or form anti-authoritarian. Everyone else is either going along with it, helping facilitate it, or in the managerial and decision-making end of it. And so my theory is that if this is true, then that doesn't mean that 25% of the country is anti-authoritarian. What that means is potentially 1 out of every 16 people you meet, or 1 out of every 4 people you meet, I guess, as it breaks down, could be anti-authoritarian. But because personality traits don't break down linearly like that in a nice, numerical order, it's usually only when people who are of those, 4 anti-authoritarian personality traits declare intent to gather and do so that you find them in a large concentration. Which means that you could be at a family gathering, or you could be in a classroom, or you could be at a party, and there's only 3 of you, or there's only 2 of you, or it's just you, because personality types don't break down in in an orderly fashion like that. And that's kind of why I think that has something to do with it. I would also argue that over time, we've seen it go from the monarchy to more of like the merchant magisterial class, or the magisterial religio class, and as rulers, where instead of one main figurehead, and the monarchy was never the sole ruler, there were always people in the court that were manipulating events, but where we've had distribution of leadership that not counting communism, but sort of incorporating some ideas of less and less central figureheads, more and more individuals making decisions, or a little bit more consensus-based approach to whatever you might want to call governance.
So they dilute it, right?
Yeah, we spread it out. But what that also means is that you've got the potential for your voice to be heard as the leadership further and further breaks down and gets away from centralization. As leadership in general, the concept of it becomes more decentralized. We have also seen, I think, an exponential growth in individual liberty and personal freedom, and we're at kind of a crossroads here where all of that is threatened to be taken away from us by what really looks like a massive international central, well, they call it the new global governance. That would piss off Dave Weiss. So I'll just say, the new international governance. I love Dave. I do.
Yeah, I don't think the world is flat, bro. You're good.
I no, I do. I like that. This fucking this
You're a flat earther, dude.
No, so what I think is it doesn't matter. I think it doesn't matter because I'm in the this is most likely a simulation category.
Yeah.
And I've been high enough, and I've talked to enough physicists and mathematicians that have all seen the same thing that I saw on mushrooms, which is a individual beam of light broken down to code. And as people get further and further and further into breaking down individual units of energy, they're all discovering what looks like code. So to me, that screams simulation. Now, does that mean that like the shape of the earth couldn't, in some way, shape, or form help foster a grander delusion? Sure, man. But if you and I are talking, then it doesn't matter if the fucking world is flat, because we've already got through 99% of the fucking lies anyway.
Yeah.
And that's something we can wild out around a campfire, maybe. But like, I kind of feel like there's some other shit that's a little bit more tangible in the immediate that people can kind of gather around and say, okay, we could work together to do something about this.
Yeah, no, and I'm with you on the whole simulation thing. That's what the ancients were talking about. Even Pythagoras, right? They believed that everything was numbers and everything had a harmony and a frequency and all this bullshit. And that's what what was it? I saw this article today. It was, those light forms. I don't know I don't know how to say the name. They're like little water bears or something like that. You know what I'm talking about? That they survive in any extreme weather. They quantum entangled they were like doing some experiments where they were quantum entangling those things because they can survive at crazy. Anyways, I think quantum physics is magic, and it's just another way that people can just practice woo woo. Dude, it's magic. If you break down any quantum physics theory, it's like, what the fuck is this, Hogwarts? Like, what is this? You know what I mean? Like, quantum tunneling, quantum entanglement, quantum computing, all this shit that they talk about. And you really, if you look at it, it's like, what are they practicing? Alchemy? Is this some sort of sorcery? You know what I mean? It's crazy.
I think sorcery might be the most applicable term to that. Yeah, I really do.
It's fucking wild, bro. It's wild. Anyways, yeah, I'm with you on that. Where Pythagoras talked about these sort of things, and the ancients, where they were onto something. But back to the idea of that you were talking about, how they're diluting everything and this decentralization of power. And so, is it part of their plan, or is it going as planned for them, do you think? Or do you think it's backfiring because, how you said, now you potentially have a voice? Because if you think about it, back then, some monarch, some king, whoever it may be, if for some people, if you were to talk out against that king, you'd have your fucking head cut off. Look what happened to Ned Stark. He got his fucking head chopped off. You know what I mean? So yeah. Do you think it's a good thing in the progress that we're making? Or you think it's eventually going to backfire on them?
So I'm I guess, I don't know, market anarchist is what I've been labeled as. It's not quite ANCAP, but it's not quite.
So you love Joe Biden?
Left anarch. Joe Biden is my personal Lord and Savior, man.
So you go ahead and you stack spaghetti sauce at a store. And
like the spaghetti sauce, and I like when the kids comb my hairs down.
That fucking guy, dude. But so I mean, if it looks like decentralization to me, I'm generally a fan of it. I think that,
or is it the illusion of decentralization? Do you think that's what's going on?
We've got a number of different things that are outside the regular internet that already prove that there's decentralization beyond control. We still have a gray market for just about everything. We still have a black market for just about everything. But the fact that we still have a gray market for just about everything, and that it's only exploded even in light of the fact that Ross Ulbricht is doing double life plus 40. Even in light of that, a gray market has exploded. So no, man, here's the thing. Being black-pilled and not on your way to being white-pilled means resigning yourself to believing that Mankini Star Trek spacesuit wearing Klaus Schwab and his goons are gonna win. That's what that means. Now sit with that, friends and neighbors, however long you need to, but I mean, that's what that means at the end of the day. And no, I don't believe that. I don't believe that, that like bloodlines that have been so perverted and a system of control that requires things as inherently self-corroding as bureaucracy have a chance against look, for example, here in the US, my friend Scott Horton from the Libertarian Institute says, in theory, 60 million libertarians under arms, you don't need a government. And I agree with that. I do. Now, what that looks like spread out over the United States, I hope would be up to the individuals who chose to live there, but I do know this: without the promise of state violence and the monopoly on violence that the state holds, violence itself becomes incredibly expensive. Violence is always expensive, but if you don't have unlimited funds that you can just print up every time you feel like you're running a little bit dry, and there's a legitimate both physical, material, and then life cost to your violence, you start to think about other options pretty quick. Violence really does become the last resort in almost all situations when you remove the state, at least in modern times. I mean, if you're fighting over the same, like the one animal that's running around, between the 3 caves that you and 2 other families are at, couple 100,000 years ago, violence probably the first resort. There's a lot of shit we've managed to figure out as people along the way. There's a lot of shit we'll revert back to if the state threatens to take away our goodies, but that's essentially where it's at. And if you can get past that shit, it becomes a lot easier to embrace some of this stuff.
Yeah, what was it, since 2003? What is it? Almost 1 million people have died in the wars that have been fought since under George Bush.
That we are allowed to know about, but
true.
there are 2 million dead Iraqis at this point. There were over 1 million dead Iraqis 10 years ago when WikiLeaks first started publishing numbers on them.
So, and I want to get into that. I want to get into Assange and all this stuff. Before I touch on that, have you seen the documentary The Forever Prisoner?
I have not, but now it sounds fascinating and I feel like I should have.
Yeah, it's on HBO Max, and it was brought up to me because I have a friend, I'm not going to say who, the dude's brother who is the forever prisoner. And in the end, it's pretty much the government does shady shit. We know they do shady shit, and they do whatever they want at the end of the day. And when you bring up this idea to people, dude, that the government can potentially harm them, right? Because it's an embryonic, it's like they have this umbilical cord connected to authority, right? Totalitarianism, whatever it is. These people, they want to be told what to do. And that's how perhaps we get the NPC class, because you do need, a lot of people fail to recognize that the Soviet Union and all these movements that have happened all throughout history, it hasn't been that the government was pushing shit on people. It was people complying. It was people going along with the narrative and doing what they were told and peer pressuring others in society to do what they were told as well. What's happening right now, people are peer pressuring people into getting some fucking experiment, in trial still, gene therapy, which is what it is. And people are pressuring other people. You know how many people have told me, oh, I got it and I regret it so bad. Oh, so why the fuck did you do it? I just felt guilty, right?
Felt like I had to.
I felt like I had to. And that's exactly why, and again, nobody take this the wrong way, I do believe COVID is a thing. There is something going around. Whether that was bioengineered or not, that's a whole nother fucking Alex Jones podcast episode we can do. But point being is that as long as you have this, the governments really don't have to do much. They just pressure people. It's like playing chess, right? You just put pressure on that king, put pressure on that. You don't checkmate them, but you keep putting pressure and pressure until you finally do checkmate. And it's the same exact thing. It's the real life Game of Thrones, dude. That's exactly what it is. You know what I mean?
Are you familiar with the Milgram experiment?
No, but I if you explain it, I might have heard about it.
They did an experiment where they had had a person in a room hooked up to a chair, and then they had a bunch of volunteers come in and there was a guy in a white coat with a clipboard. He said, "I'm a doctor." And he had a very reassuring, very professional voice, and he had a very kind gaze and
I am
soft
science.
eyes. And he said, "You are going to be asking the patient a series of questions, and I will tell you when to administer a small dose of electricity. And as they get questions wrong, we will increase the electricity." And what the experiment found, there was no electricity. There was an actor in the chair.
Oh, with the noise going off, like, oh.
He was told to, you know, scream. And what they found is that people would administer shocks to human beings that they knew to be lethal as long as there was someone in authority that they could turn to and have a face nod at them. Yes, push the button. Okay, I'll push the button. And that's the Milgram experiment. And that's what we're living right now. And so that combined with the mass formation, mass psychosis event that I do believe to be a major factor in the COVID madness, the fact that the United States first and foremost is the most propagandized country on the planet, hands down inarguable, but that we operate an intelligence sharing network called the Five Eyes with Canada, the UK, Australia, and New Zealand, where each nation gets to be a test lab for something or other for the other ones before it gets rolled out.
You think that's?
I know so. There's documentation on it going back decades.
Is that why they're running a fucking Hitler Germany over in Australia right now? Doing whatever the fuck they want. They took people's guns away in the 90s, and now they're just pushing whatever they want on the people, and they're complying happily.
Well, think about how many times they already tried to push a fake pandemic on people.
Oh, they've
just in the last 10 years.
Quite a few times, yeah.
Yeah, this was attempt number 4 in just the last decade. And you start to hear Bill Gates and Gavi and some of the boys from DARPA and Alphabet, Google's parent company, and Johns Hopkins and the CDC start talking about biometric IDs and digital IDs and things like that at least 5-6 years ago, if not before that. They game out these events. The one that people are most familiar with is Event 201, but there are a bunch of other ones. In fact, in 2019, there were 3 separate U.S. military exercises called Crimson Contagion that took place going as far back as very early in 2019. And then there was a Crimson Contagion that took place right before Event 201, but it was here in the U.S. that as kind of a, I don't know, almost like a Jade Helmish sort of exercise, but without the theatrics that went into Jade.
They were running simulations too, right? That was one of the things that they were running simulations of how it would act, and you had fucking Bill Gates talking about it, right?
Not only that, but I mean, this goes back to multiple different gatherings of, goblins, I guess, whether it's the Milken Institute or the World Economic Forum or the Bloomberg Economic Forum, whatever, Bilderberg and the ones that we already know about. They do get caught on tape. And they are very, very, very kind. Well, I think you're giving presentations. They want this shit to be recorded in a lot of ways, So I do think that there is a spiritual nature to this. I do think that we are fighting on a spiritual level. And I do think that these people at least think that there's a thing that they communicate to that provides them with power, and they have to declare intent.
Steve, we are
publicly.
This is a rational podcast. We don't talk about the lizards on this show, so I don't know what you're talking about. But
what I'm talking about is I don't have to believe it. They have to believe it. If they believe it for themselves, they're going to take step A through Z or complete ritual by dancing here. That has nothing to do with me. But a declaration of intent goes a long way, regardless of whether you're attaching spiritual significance to it or not. And at each and every turn, with everything that we've seen in the rollout of the Rona, from lockdown 2 weeks to flatten the curve. Oh, you can't do this now. Now you can't do this. Mask up, don't mask up, stand up, sit down, fight. You know, all of the things that we have to do, cheerleading,
The
clap
Hegelian
for the
dialectic,
nurses.
no? Is that what it's called? The Hegelian dialectic?
So Hegel was a philosopher. What Hegel said is that you have to flip the thing that you're deconstructing to its inverse and strip it away of all reality. That, like, married with the I think it's Kant, where the whole like postmodernism thing stems from, that the idea of the thing is more important than the reality of the thing. The reality of the thing is in and of itself dirty and nasty and needs to be destroyed. And that's why Hegel dialectics is just a way of breaking something down. People get mixed up a lot and call what Crowley was saying as above, so below. People refer to that as the Hegelian dialectic, and it's not. Dialectics is a process by which you examine an idea.
Fuck Crowley.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, fuck that guy. That
I
guy's
do.
a piece of shit.
I do. And fuck heroin while we're at it.
Yeah,
I mean,
fuck heroin and meth. Fuck yeah. So to add, and this is one of my favorite, and I'm sorry to do this to you, one of my favorite Bible verses. Let's read it from King James, right? The homeboy King James. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. I've always said this shit, and I tell people, you know, the reptilian overlords, right? What are they all about? And the first thing people ask me is like, are they really reptiles? I go, maybe they are reptiles. Maybe they are some sort of ancient bloodline of the Anunnaki, right? That came down and butt fucked humanity, and we're just some big experiment, right? Whatever. But 100%, it goes back to that, what you touched on about this they believe that through alchemy, because that's what it is, they can achieve other things. They, you know, 1 + 1. That's the lovely thing about math, right? That it doesn't have a barrier, it doesn't have a language. Wherever you are in the world, 1 + 1 is always 2, right? So that's why I also think that we are in some sort of simulation where everything can be broken down to numbers, because math is the universal language, and how Pythagoras said, we didn't invent it, we only discovered it. It's the language of the universe. But yeah, back to that idea that these individuals, and you mentioned earlier in the show, you said this shadow government, this government that operates underneath. And if you tell that to anybody nowadays, they just look at you and go, you're just another one of those QAnon conspiracy theorists, aren't you? And let's bring up that the CIA created the term conspiracy theorist to discredit people. That's what it's all about. I had my friend Paranoid American on the show, and he said, and I asked him, why do you think they do all this cancel culture and all this stuff of just of you know, defaming people and slandering them? And he goes, because back then there wasn't the technology that there is today, forensics and all this stuff. You could just pull a guy in some alley, stab him, dump him, and that's it. Nowadays, war has changed. The tactics have changed. So whenever somebody comes out with some sort of idea that goes against the narrative, what do? The first thing they do, they go after their reputation. They go after who they are. They discredit them. They do all this shit. Like, you know who Meet Kevin is on YouTube? That cuck. He fucking made this episode the other day trying to discredit one of the later episodes of Joe Rogan with that doctor. That It blew my mind, dude, that he had that guy on there, especially being at Spotify. This guy pretty much broke it all down, bro. It's all bullshit. You know, masks don't work, the vaccines don't work, et cetera, and he just laid it all out. Some guy with credentials, mind you. And then you got this fucking YouTuber comes out, and he tries to discredit him and say all these things, and people are like, bro, you know, go debate him. Go on Joe Rogan's show and debate him or whatever. But anyways.
Well, if you remember in that interview, Dr. McCullough said there's a $2 million bet on the table for anyone who wants to come.
That's what people are writing in the comments.
This.
They're like, go debate him, this and that. But it just comes to show what I'm saying, that they go after somebody's reputation nowadays. And back to the shadow government, if you will. Do you think QAnon is real, bro?
No. In fact, I know it's not. In fact, some of my first channel strikes were for debunking Q in real time with some of the OG anonymous
Q
people. Yeah, like debunking the concept that was Q, because we had some old school anons, the Guy Fawkes wearing anons, who had been approached by a guy named Ezra, who works out of the PsyOps division for the United States Army.
And before you go on, Steve, I want to say I love my life. I would never kill myself. Just in case anybody's listening, I would never shoot myself 2 times in the back of the head. So,
right, no, I have no intention of committing suicide, a la Gary Webb. Where there are two
I don't know if
separate.
you're able to talk about it, but I saw your truck. The thing about your truck, that was fucking wild, bro.
It's pretty wild.
That's why I'm saying you can't be saying a lot of shit that you've been saying on here, because I've known of some people who have gone to these quote unquote peaceful protests, right? Because there's peaceful protesters, and they've come out and said it in different places, and next thing you know, they slip and fall, and they stab themselves in the back.
Yeah. And I mean, bro, the first time I had my head split open by the cops at a protest was 1999. It was a WTO protest. I fucking was Occupy Oakland. Like, you're
a veteran, huh?
I got a pretty good chin. Okay. I get a pretty good chin. But the people who orchestrated QAnon approached a number of like unmasked members of Anonymous, the original Anonymous, because they're pirates. With the voice, right? Yeah, because they're pirates, and because there's quite literally millions of them, and because, to be perfectly honest, most of them are compromised. And one of the dudes that got approached was like, "Nah, go fuck yourself." He had still does work for like activist post, and did work for Weird Change and all that kind of stuff. He's openly talked about this, so I'm not snitching on anybody. And what it is and was and always was intended to be was an absolute psychological operation where you would do what you do with every other limited hangout, throw a little bit of factual information out there, wrap it in religiosity and mystery. They were flat out doing lines from Die Hard back in the beginning, bro. It was wild. I'm not kidding. It's but people bought it. People needed it. It was the other side of Russiagate. What Russiagate did was break the brains of everybody on the fucking left and all of the shitlibs. And what QAnon did was it deactivated the part of the right that would have been out in the streets all day, every day, in force over this. We're going to lock down. We're shutting down small businesses. We're shutting down medium businesses. Everyone is now suicidal and out of work. Like that would have been the moment where the activated right would have grabbed guns and said, no, we're all going to have life again. We're going to do this with or without you. But because they had Q, the magic man on the chat board, who was telling them, any day now, the indictments are coming any day now. One more day, follow White Rabbit. It's going to happen. Like for years. And now they're waiting for Donald Trump to literally erupt into flames where he will emerge as a phoenix, triumphant God emperor, ready to grab Ron DeSantis and herald us into the promised land.
China.
Do you think that, what was it recently? One of the Kennedys was supposed to come out and announce that.
Yes, JFK Jr. was supposed to materialize in New York.
Why isn't he dead yet? Didn't they wipe out that entire family?
JFK Jr. has been dead for a very long time.
He's dead, and they said that he was gonna come. No, really?
Yeah, there's a handful of Kennedys that are still alive, but yes, supposedly the QAnon meme is that JFK Jr. who died in a plane crash in the 90s,
Yeah.
wasn't really dead. He never
What
really died.
Fuck, seriously.
Faked the death to save the bloodline. And now, for some reason, one of the Kennedys, okay, because they were the ones who originally went up against the cabal, remember?
Yeah, that's why.
Originally, so that's why they're trying to, resurrect that bloodline. That's why JFK Jr. didn't really die. That's why RFK Jr. is now at the forefront of the pushback against the Corona narrative. It's all like magically dovetailed for the Q people, and that's just not reality. Like RFK Jr. has been doing children's health defense for an incredibly long time. He is vaccine injured. He had a kid who, like the whole fucking thing. It's his life's work, which he fucking completely went ostracized for 30 years ago, 20 years ago. He'd already, given up any semblance of political future or whatever. That wasn't going to happen. What he was going to do was try to save the lives of children by informing and educating their parents. And so, I don't know, it works as a narrative. It helps keep people deactivated. That's what it's supposed to do. But I mean, really, y'all, like, plant a garden, trap shoot, find some other stuff to do.
Yeah,
because the magic man in the computer isn't going to save you.
Because again, this cult-like mentality, right, where people get together. There's something about people getting together and just worshiping either an ancient, political prisoner, if you will, or somebody that's the difference between a religion and a cult. That a religion, the dude's dead. A cult, the guy was probably alive until the other day, right? L. Ron Hubbard and Scientology. But do you think that, because I believe that, Steve, if these people are so smart and they're so sophisticated and they're running everything and they really are shapeshifters, why do you think they would let somebody like fucking Joe Biden into the White House in the state that he's in, with his somebody that is obviously not all there? Don't you think that they would have some other guy that they could go to, right? You know what I mean? Like some guy that's sharp, knows how to talk to people and can just chop it up with whoever, and it just will do what they say. But then they choose this senile old man. That's why I can't get behind the whole, well, everything's run by this government. They're, the reptilians are real and all that. You know what I mean?
Let me ask you what you think would be more important to reptilian overlords: how Americans feel for a 4 to 8 year period about one particular president, or getting the vast majority of the population to 100% lose faith and trust in the institutions that they have always been told are going to be there for them, just as the World Economic Forum is parking the fourth industrial revolution and the Great Reset and the new global governance and the central bank backed digital currency that they want to be like a pan global coin. What would you think would be more of more interest or a more worthwhile investment?
No, touche. I mean, I can get behind you on that, and I think that that's why you mentioned earlier it has to do with a spiritual thing, because if you put people in chaos, I think that they benefit from that energy, right? To put another twist on it, they want the chaos, they want the destruction, they want the lower vibrational frequencies because they sort of feed off that. If they are,
chaos favors the establishment every time. Every time. Chaos favors the established order. It gives them excuses. It gives them reason. It gives them license to flex whatever monopoly on violence they hold, whatever monopoly on currency distribution they hold. Chaos favors the establishment. That's why organization and small groups and like little, not necessarily like nation state kind of things, but I mean, organization in small groups where people are using counter economics, where we're not using central bank currency, that's what's going to be the most damaging. Ultimately, constructing a parallel structure or parallel society to the one that we currently live in, going to be the most damaging. The thing that these people have done, Juan, is they've set it all up around currency. They've set it all up around central banking and the ability to manipulate the lives of people over the concept of a dollar.
Do you think that crypto is going to take off, or do you think they're going to shut that down? Or do you think that's the
So
future? Are we ushering in the new world order, Steve, by using crypto?
here's what I think. I think the cryptocurrency currently isn't currency. I think that it represents potential for it, and I do see things with like Litecoin and the individual Satoshi and things like that. We're starting to get there conceptually. Like the ecosystems conceptually are kind of cool, but ultimately I don't think it's the answer, because ultimately I don't think that we have enough raw materials to keep powering it. And I don't think that destroying what's left of the planet in order to go mine asteroids so that we can keep using cryptocurrency is necessarily the best idea. But that's what's being proposed. So what I think is the concept of cryptocurrency represents a door by which minds can become freer, by which what we think of in terms of currency, in terms of exchange, in terms of value, become much, much, much both wilder and tangible. So I don't know. What I've always said about it is, if you can use it as the asset that it is, because it is an asset, if you can use it as an asset in the short term to get yourself some real land or some real, real tools, some real tangible things, go fucking get that shit, homeboy. Do that shit. Like, go fucking crush it. I believe in you. I suck at this shit. I'm not good at it, but I believe in you, and I think you could do it. But no, it's not the answer, because it's connected to the continued fucking pillaging of the only planet we have in order to perpetuate its existence.
Do you think 1,000 years from now, we're going to be looking back at these times and going, what the fuck do you think we're going to be talking about the same shit 1,000 years from now, dude? In the year 3021 or 22, you think we're going to be looking back and being, man, we were some stupid fucks back then. The world is still going to end. We still have, you know what I mean? Like, I think about that all the time, about 1,000 years from now, what the fuck are we going to be saying about these times?
So if we do our job right now, 1,000 years from now, if they're sitting around bitching about shit and looking back at future generations going, boy, they were dumb back then we succeeded, because they're having a human moment. That's humanity. And this, in my opinion, is the precipice of where we stop being humans. If the people who are in control are at the moment are allowed to continue, then we're looking at the transhumanist agenda. We're looking at, the biomedical human being that has, by their own paperwork, diagnostic nanobots that swim around in your bloodstream that give real-time updates to whatever hospital administration
nowadays.
Yeah, I can show you I'll drop it's not on this. Let me pull up
that. Have you heard of what was it, Michael Bloomberg, that the building he built on the Mithric temple, and I don't know where the fuck, where it's like it does just that. They monitor your blood sugar, your hydration, everything, and if they sense that you're low on anything, they send in a little robot to bring you something to drink or eat or something. And yeah, it's fucking crazy.
It's the future of medicine. It is. They're pretty
but do you think
it.
You mentioned transhumanism? That's a thing that a lot of these elites because if you look back at the ancient Egyptians, what was their whole thing? They wanted to live forever, right? That's why they prepared the bodies and mummified people, because they believed that they could later on come back and, or, you know, whatever. That's where all that started. You have guys like Jeffrey Epstein, even Jeff Bezos, especially Elon Musk. I saw this article a couple of days ago where it said I think it was this paraplegic man was able to type out a sentence, or his first tweet, right? How ironic. His first tweet just using his mind through some technology that they were using. Does that scare you at all, Steve, that we're headed towards this transhumanistic movement of becoming one, and maybe this you know, impending doom of the singularity, if you will?
So what I do know about the singularity is we are unlikely to see it in our lifetimes. That what we're going to see mostly is people talking shit and people trying to get some of this off the ground, but mostly it's going to be a fundraising mechanism. I had the boys from Grimerica on a couple of weeks ago, and it was a really cool talk. And shout out to Graham and Darren. They're freaking rad. And Darren said something that like it hasn't left, you know, and he was just like, man, it's just people talking. You don't have to listen. You don't have to listen.
But that's how it starts, dude.
To a degree,
yeah. I think when Hitler was coming up with his ideas, they're like, it's just an idea. It's just,
but
you know,
if you're aware of that, you can act on the fact that currently they're just talking. Currently, the systems that we have can't sustain these ideas. The technology can't sustain the thought. The raw materials only exist under the ground, you know, for a lot of this shit. In the 2020 National Defense Authorization Act, that was written in 2019, the Trump administration thing, they laid the framework for the global war on rare earth minerals, or rather, rare earth minerals. Rare earth minerals are going to power the Internet of Things, along with lithium and coltan and cobalt and silver, a bunch of other stuff. But rare earth minerals are going to be the thing that allows for something like nuclear fusion to happen. Not nuclear fission, which we have, which creates all the waste, but nuclear fusion, which is closer to like 0.0 emission energy, that doesn't create that stuff. It's going to take rare earth minerals to power those machines. They've got to completely destroy massive swaths of the planet in order to obtain these. But we, in our, you know, in the legislation where our military budget comes from, the framework for that process is already underway. But again, it takes that currency to do it. It takes people to go ahead and type out the numbers or manipulate the mines or even build the machines that go do the mining. It takes people. It takes a threat backed by a monopoly on violence, and it takes currency. And if we can get two of those things to break in our way, first in small groups, hopefully still always in small groups, but acting in coordination, they don't have shit to stand on. And there's so many more of us than there are of them. So many more. So what we're seeing even with the COVID narrative, where it's starting to break a little bit, and finally after 2 years, you know, starting to go our way, it is that once people are done, they're done.
Yeah.
And it's not like all it does take is for some cracks in the armor to show. Oh, the Fauci Beagles thing came out and people actually started paying attention to who Fauci was.
They still didn't give a
fuck.
Took
dogs. Though. Yeah, for sure he is.
They were doing experiments on monkeys, pain tests on monkeys as well. People didn't give a fuck. Maybe some people, Steve,
slaughtered fucking a bunch of AIDS patients in the 80s and 90s. Wholesale massive fucking a gay genocide is what he did.
You know what I learned recently, like a few months back, that the Nazis were competing with the US of their sterilization of people. And the people who came up, well, Plato proposed the idea of eugenics. It goes way back. But the U.S. in the early 1900s were already euthanizing and sterilizing people, and they were doing it to mentally handicapped people who obviously couldn't defend themselves. And in 1914, they were passing laws for that shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you got, Hitler killed and they tried to genocide a whole people, right? Whatever. No, it's like we were doing that shit over here, and they were trying to beat us. They were trying to get quotas to beat us. Like, hey, the U.S. sterilized 500,000 people today. We got to step our numbers up. They were competing with us. They got the idea
of concentration camps from us.
From the British. The British had concentration camps too.
Yeah. Yeah, we had them in the 18 teens. Yes. We had them during the Civil War. Yes. But it's it's not it wasn't a unique concept. But again, most propagandized country on the face of the earth.
I think that how you're saying people are going to start waking up. Not everybody, Steve, because I think when that maybe right eventually when that person is on their 16th booster shot. Right? 5 years after the 2 weeks to flatten the curve, I think maybe some people start waking up at that point. You know what I mean? Because they're still going to be.
It doesn't take everybody, though. It doesn't take everybody. It doesn't take everybody. It only took 40% of the country in a mass formation under mass psychosis for this to be allowable in the first place. That's not even a majority. The president is never picked by a majority.
No.
That's certainly not a majority of voting age adults. There's more people in most cases during an election year that don't vote than do.
Like 1/3 of the population votes, right? It's like 100 million people vote.
Yeah, and of those, about half are about 200 million are of voting age. The largest category of voters is non-voters. The second largest category of voters is independents. And then the third largest category of voters vacillates between Republicans and Democrats who compete for the last. The two parties that are in power represent individually the least number of people.
Wow. Yeah, it's when you put it in that perspective, it does blow your mind. Steve, I wanted to talk about, you mentioned WikiLeaks, and we could start wrapping it up on this stuff. You mentioned WikiLeaks, and when they started putting out numbers of the people that were dying with the wars in the Middle East. What was the latest with Assange? He had a stroke, was it? Was that the latest one from the stress of being extradited and all that shit?
I mean, the latest is, the UK or the US successfully won their case to extradite Julian Assange. Wow. His legal team filed.
You think they're gonna put him in Guantanamo Bay, dude?
No. And I'll get to that. But what happened back in October is that he was scheduled for an in-person court appearance on October 27th. 10 days prior to that, he was subjected to an experimental medical procedure to which he did not consent. But was given no choice. And then 9.5 days later, he had a stroke.
Wait, what? Was that it?
Yeah. And this is something that his dad has confirmed in a couple of interviews. I met his dad this summer, and his half-brother spent 2 weeks traveling with him. So he and I still talk occasionally. Confirmed it to me on the phone. So what they told him was, you're scheduled for an in-person court experience, court appearance. We can't have you there unjabbed. So they gave it to him, and then he stroked out.
Wow.
Now
that doesn't surprise me, though.
The whole thing has been what Chris Hedges calls a slow motion crucifixion. Man, this represents Julian Assange went into the Ecuadorian embassy 10 years ago. A little bit over 10 years ago. He was confined to 1.5 rooms for the next 7.5 years in the most surveilled building on the planet. The UN Working Group on Arbitrary Detention found that he was being arbitrarily detained, effectively imprisoned in the Ecuadorian embassy, where he was for 7.5 years, where he was dragged out after having his constitutional rights violated. But where he was a citizen of Ecuador at that time, had an Ecuadorian passport. There was no due process to revoke his passport, no due process to have him removed. The UK just went in and dragged him out, trafficked him to Belmarsh prison, which is what they call the Guantanamo Bay of the United Kingdom, because it's where they put all their terror suspects and, their high security prisoners. Non-violent offender, by the way, journalist and publisher, Asperger's as fuck, not a murderer, but that's where he's at. He's been there since April 11th of 2019. He has had 0 charges on him since September of 2020. 0 charges, just on remand, which means waiting to go to court. No bail. Guantanamo Bay of the United Kingdom. For the Iraq war logs, the Afghan war log, the Guantanamo Bay files, and Cablegate. All of the Manning leaks, that's what he's being charged with. The main witness against him recanted his testimony and said, I lied to the FBI in exchange for immunity. He didn't hack shit. I just wanted to go commit more crimes. This is a convicted pedophile, a previously convicted pedophile.
Oh, they like
that
those.
The FBI employed, huh?
They like those. They like the pedophiles.
Yeah. Easier to manipulate until they're not. This one's actually crazy. He was certified a sociopath by the Icelandic Health Ministry. This is who they had provide, a giant chunk of their testimony, which he recanted, but still, which the judge knew. But still, they're going to go forward with the charade because it represents the true death of the free press. Julian Assange is an Australian citizen imprisoned in the United Kingdom, being extradited to the United States under the Espionage Act of 1917 for printing accurate information that embarrassed the government.
Mm-hmm.
None of the charges have anything to do with the 2016 election, Hillary Clinton, none of that shit, none of it.
Why don't you think that they just Clinton him and just off him? Do you think it's
they have tried. We found out last year that they had whole scenarios gamed out. They tried to breach the door to the embassy a number of times. Successfully breached the door to the embassy once. It's not like it's not for lack of trying. And the reason that they don't just have them Epsteined in prison is because it's too fucking obvious at this point.
But
there are enough other nations that Julian Assange stuck his neck out for to help. There are torture victims from the CIA that are alive and walking around today, and able to have fucking family and a life and shit with a lot of therapy, solely because WikiLeaks existed as a publication and printed their story. World governments have toppled because of WikiLeaks releases.
Oh, you pissed off the wrong people, obviously.
Sure. Yeah. But so somebody's gotta, right? I mean, do you want to know or not? Ignorance is bliss, sure, but I think people have the right to know what their governments do in their names and with their money. I think people have a right to know if their son or daughter or loved one fought and died for something real or for Halliburton's fourth quarter profits. Yeah. So.
And then, do you think they'll eventually get Snowden? Because that was another one too, right? That was on the right.
I think.
What are your thoughts with him?
So Snowden wants to come here. He doesn't want to go to court And currently, every government that he's said, hey, I would like to come back, they're like, yeah, we're going to fuck you super hard if you do. And so he goes, okay, I'm doing all right in Russia. And that's just kind of where it at. If there was a lenient, benevolent U.S. world leader who would preemptively pardon, waive charges, waive prosecution, and say, sure, Ed, come back, he would be here in a heartbeat. He would be. At least according to him. But I don't know, man. My qualms with Snowden at this point are like, really, signal's garbage and you push it anyway. You had that Sentinel thing that you were pushing for a while. There seems to be like a product every once in a while that you're backing that doesn't do any of the shit that you say it's supposed to do, and that confuses me.
Yeah, I get you. I think Joe Exotic has a better chance of getting pardoned than any of these guys. You know what I mean? Which that was the thing. They try to the fucking was it Tiger King guy was trying to.
Yep. I mean, dude, Trump pardoned an Israeli spy master, 2 war criminals, and a bunch of rappers.
Yeah.
Like anybody who thought he was going to do anything in terms of Snowden or Assange or whatever, they were sucking on the hopium. And I know a lot of them, good friends with a lot of them. And I told them to their faces in real time. And they were like, you're cynical. He's dead bad. I'm like, maybe I am, dude. But my cynicism is borne out to be accurate more often than not, especially where it comes to the federal government.
Yeah, no, I trust the government as far as I can throw them. That's what I always tell people. But yeah, this whole idea that the government doesn't do shady shit and would never hurt its people and cares about your well-being. When you tell somebody that who worships the government and these political figures and all these other people, it's like, dude, it's the most horrifying thing to them. That could be a possibility, and that that the government would hurt them and doesn't care about them. That's to some people, dude, is they're so heartbroken. You see them die, looking at them in the eyes when you tell them that. You know what I mean?
You're taking away their ball. You're taking away their supernatural belief system, or their, whatever it is. That in a society that's gone increasingly secular over the last 150 years, whatever energy people used to put into a faith-based system, they've transferred to the state. They've transferred to a particular political figure or a political party, or now the science. Yeah,
it's another one.
So I mean, I understand it. I yell at people about it, but I understand it. I see how it happens at any rate.
Yeah. So, Steve, I had a great time, man. We touched on a lot of interesting topics, and I just thought I'd give the listeners a rest from the reptilian talk and all this shit. But one more time for listeners, where can they find your show? And what's your social media? Because I like to do it at the beginning, at the end, just in case,
Hell yeah. Well, Juan, thank you, man. I enjoyed the hell out of it. And we're gonna have to get you over on the Slow News Day here soon. You can find everything at slownewsdayshow.com is the website. rockfin.com/slownewsday for the show, or we're on Odyssey and a bunch of other platforms. Check Alt Media United for the audio only links, and then at Slow News Day Show is all of the social media, most of the donate links, all that kind of stuff.
Awesome. And thanks again for coming on, Steve. Like I said, I had a great time, and whenever you want to chop it up again, dude, let me know and have you back on.
Sounds good, brother. Thank you.